What's up, everybody? We are live. Happy Sunday morning, July 5th. How did you celebrate the 4th yesterday? Was it all good? How many of y'all took the video of the fireworks that you're never going to watch again? Like you were that person. Let me know in the comments who's all here, who's watching, who's up at 9:50 this morning. We had a little crowd in the 9 o'clock service. Saw some peeps in there. If you're coming to 11, let me know. Raise your hand. If you're out of town, but you're watching, I'm proud of you. So my aunt says hi, and Jack says, hey, what's up, guys? Y'all doing all right? You had a good 4th of July? Let me know how you celebrated. How many hot dogs did you eat? Hamburgers. We had some good hamburgers yesterday. So how many hot dogs, hamburgers did you throw down? Elizabeth, Hola, who's all coming to 11 o'clock? Let me know. Let me know if you're coming to 11 so I can see you there. So everything's going good. Who lost a finger to fireworks yesterday? Anybody lose a finger or get burned by a sparkler, like really bad? Elizabeth, you lost a finger or you're coming to worship? The world needs to know. We have a right to know. So, because you just said us, like after I asked the question, and I'm curious. I think everybody else is as well. Worship. Okay, they're coming to worship. They didn't lose fingers. That's good. That's good. So still got 40 fingers in her family attached. That's awesome. All right, so we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 5 today. Proverbs chapter 5. Hope that you can join us throughout the duration of our study in Proverbs. It's been good. Good word has been kind of working through. We're going to be working through Proverbs. It's just been a good little study, and I've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, like what did you do yesterday? Was yesterday like a lazy day? Did you go see family? Did you wear a mask all day long inside at your own house? Like, what did you do? Super proud man moment for me yesterday. Changed out a thermostat and a light switch in under an hour. I know. Like, I didn't think I could do it. To be honest with you, I was doubting myself, doubting my abilities, but I got it done. It was crunch time too, because the old thermostat was going out. And if you know me and my air conditioning, I need it cold. So had to get that moving type deal. So I don't know if my heater's going to work but right now we won't need it until December. Actually, we hardly ever turn our heater on, even in the wintertime. We hibernate like bears. And so we just go in. You cuddle up. If you're cold, get a blanket or another one. So, all right. So this morning I've got like a kind of an interesting / weird question for you. As we start our time together. Let me just throw this out there. Next week, it will be pre-recorded. Next week, Sunday, will be pre-recorded. I will not be live, but it will be happening as if it was live, if that makes sense. But all the questions that I would ask you would kind of be, introspective. Like, you don't have to answer on the comments unless you want to have a dialogue on the comments. That would be cool. But it will be posted at 9:50 and run, but it's going to be pre-recorded. So just to let you know, that's coming up. This Wednesday, we will not gather in person. I will have a short devotional that I will post on Wednesday that you can watch. I'll post it probably here and Instagram TV because I can at that point. If I pre-record, I can post it at both, and it's easier. So just letting y'all know, Wednesday and then next Sunday, pre-recorded stuff. Not live, not in person, all that kind of good stuff. So taking a little trip. It's going to be, I hope it's going to be fun. It's going to be hot. So Anyway, got a question for you. What's the worst injury you've ever suffered? What's the worst injury that you've ever had? So I'm going to go with mine. The worst injury I've ever had. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I can't remember. I think it was 5. When I was 5 years old, we were crossing a fence line, barbed wire fence. It was pretty new, and so a friend of mine was holding up the barbed wire, and I'm crossing. You're just kind of sliding through. Well, she let go, or like it slipped out of her fingers. She didn't do it on purpose, and one of the barbs came down. Actually, I think it was 2 of them, but I don't remember. But anyway, I was there, but it was all kind of fuzzy. So one of them came down, so I'm going this way, and it came down, cut me right here, and then felt it. So whenever I felt it, I jerked, and whenever I jerked, it went into the corner of my eye, like that, and then I pulled out. So just kind of imagine right here is now just open. So all that being said, I had to go to the hospital. Got stitches right here, but then they had to do plastic surgery to get this back into place and close it all back up. Otherwise, it was going to be open, which is really weird. But yeah, at the age of 5, I had plastic surgery. I had my first nose job, as I say, right here. So you can't really see it. They did a really good job. You can't really see it anymore unless you look really, really, really close. But yeah, so a lot of people ask me why my eyebrows are the way they are. This one was a car wreck 2 years before that, back before they made really cool car seats where you didn't, you wouldn't get injured. So we had a car seat, and I hit my head. Somebody hit us from behind. I hit my head on the car seat, split my head wide open. So anyway, what do we got in here? A paper cut is that. No, for real. Sometimes you're wondering how could this thing that I handle every single day cut me so deep? It gets you. It's almost like you feel if you get paper cut right here, you feel it on the other side of your hand. It's the weird, it's just in it. Oh gosh, they're hard to describe. So I feel you on that one. Elizabeth, falling off my bike into barbed wire fence. So we have 2 barbed wire fence stories here. Okay. I don't know, Elizabeth, maybe, why were you riding so close? That's my only question. Why were you riding so close? Logan dislocated his knee from stepping over a hurdle. I don't know. I'm not going to ask you to reenact that next time I see you, but I remember that. But I still don't know how that happened. So anyway, Elizabeth says a long story. Well, in COVID, it doesn't matter if it's a long story or not. We got time, okay? Time is on our side. No. All right. So looking back, what, if anything, could you have done to avoid this injury? What, if anything, could you have done to avoid this injury? Okay. So I look back on it, even though it was 33 years ago. I look back on it and I say, I could have crossed the fence at a different place. Could have run around the fence. That was always an option. The first thing I say was we weren't supposed to. The hardest part about it was we weren't supposed to be over there anyway. That whole deal. It was one of those, hey, y'all don't go over there. They don't. The reason there was barbed wire fence was they had horses. They don't want you to mess with the horses, but we always wanted to go see the horses and this, that, and the other. Why is there a fence there? Let's cross it and see type deal. And so we weren't supposed to be over there. We were over there. The pizza had just arrived. It was at a friend's house. And we ended up, I don't know if we ate pizza or not, but we ended up piling into the car and going to the hospital. So anyway, yeah, my aunt says don't use paper. Nobody got a paper cut from an iPad, my aunt. That's what I'm gonna say. Nobody got a paper. So we look back all the time though, and we can avoid certain, like we look back and say this could have been avoided. Elizabeth's falling into the fence with a bike could have been avoided if, long story, whatever it is, had been, just couple things different. Logan would not have dislocated his knee if he was not stepping over a hurdle or something of that sort. So let's read. Hold on, gotta get it. There we go. So let's read Proverbs. If you're not in Proverbs chapter 5, turn there. Proverbs chapter 5. Today we're going to be talking about marriage. I know, like a lot of y'all are like, whoa, Justin, throwing it deep on us. And like, I'm not ready for that. It's okay. We're just going to look at God's wisdom that he gives us through his word about marriage. Okay, so we're going to be in Proverbs chapter 5. We're going to start in verse 3. We're going to read through 6. We'll stop, ask some questions, kind of dialogue about it a little bit, and then go from there. All right, so Proverbs 5, chapter 5, verse 3. Here we go. Woo, let me get there. There we go. For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil, but in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps follow the path to Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life, her ways wander, and she does not know it. Now, talking a lot about Solomon's just laying it out. Hey, there's some bad women out there, okay? And this is what they look like. Okay? Their forbidden lips, drip honey. Their speech is smoother than oil. They say everything that you want to hear. But in the end, she's as bitter as wormwood, sharp as any two-edged sword, or a paper cut, my aunt. So there are people, and it's not just women. There are people out there who are like this, and we know them, okay? Some of them we are friends with. Some of them we are probably a little too close with. If we're admitting to ourselves, we probably get too close to at times. So, according to these verses, okay, now that we read 3 through 6, okay, if we're looking at these verses, what does giving into temptation lead to? Okay, so here's what Solomon is saying. Here's what this woman looks like. Here's what this person looks like. Their lips, they drip honey. Her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path to Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life. What if we give into the temptation here of following this person? And I'll say this person because this applies both to men and women, and boys and girls. If we give into temptation and following this person, what happens? Okay, so Elizabeth says untimely death. Solomon says her steps follow the path to Sheol. What is Sheol? What is Sheol? Does anybody know? What is Sheol? And what does it mean in verse 5? What does it tell us about the seriousness of following somebody like this, following the temptation and pursuing the temptation that somebody like this offers? So Elizabeth says hell. Okay, so let me kind of illustrate or give you a little theological context for a second. Sheol is often translated as the grave or place of the dead. It is referred to as the lowest part of the earth. Deuteronomy 32, and then 1 Samuel 28, Isaiah 7. And is considered a place of emptiness, devoid of love, wisdom, knowledge, and light. Okay, so it doesn't have wisdom, knowledge, light. It's just darkness. Okay, nothingness. Some descriptions refer to it as a place where people are cut off from God, but it is important to note that God's presence can reach even to Sheol. Psalm 139 tells us that. Proverbs 5:6 uses Sheol as a picture of how spiritually damaging following into this temptation of basically adultery is what he's laying out. Following into this temptation of adultery can really be. Okay, so my next question is, what benefits come from submitting to God's design for our life and our bodies? Okay, what benefits come from submitting to God's design for our lives and our bodies? So basically, this question is asking this: what benefits come from not following this person into temptation? Like from not giving into the temptation that this person in our lives might bring. Well, if we look basically at 4, 5, and 6, it's the opposite of that. Okay, so when she goes down to, when it says, her feet go down to death, her steps follow to the path of Sheol. Well, that would be the opposite of that. So if we don't do that, we bringing ourselves into life. She does not ponder the path of life. Okay, so basically we're on the path of life. If we're the opposite, her ways wander. She does not know it. Basically, she's going somewhere. She's leading somewhere that she doesn't even know, and we'd be going a place where we know exactly where we're going. We know exactly where we're heading. We know the exact path that we are on. All right, so we're going to continue to read. We're going to continue to read here. Elizabeth says, a relationship with God that will lead to eternity with him. Exactly. So let's continue to read about this, verse 7 through 11. And now, O sons, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless, lest strangers take their fill of your strength, and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. At the end of your life, you groan when your flesh and body are consumed. So Solomon still continues, okay? Solomon still continues with this, hey, stay away from this person. Stay away from her. Stay away from her door. Stay away from, don't walk near it. Don't go in so that you can remain honorable. Okay? Don't go near this situation. This is so much more than just the picture of a man falling into the trap of adultery. This is, hey, when you get really close to sin, okay, whenever you say, I'm going to get as close to sin and not touch it, or try not to touch it, or I'm gonna go right up to the line and not go across it, you're giving yourself, okay, you're giving yourself a way to touch it and to cross it. Perfect example is my fence story, which is part of the reason why I shared it. It was a place where I had already disobeyed and was not listening to the people, I was not listening to my friend's parents. I was not listening to my mom, who both said, do not cross the fence. But what did we do? We crossed the fence. We went right up, and it's just as little kids do. We go right up to the fence. We're looking over the fence. We're looking to see what we can see over the fence. We're looking at so-and-so's tree house over the fence. We're looking at the horse. We're looking at all these things. And then all of a sudden, we had stood so long by the fence that we said, hey, we can cross it. It's no big deal. We can step over into this. Now, it wasn't because I crossed the fence that I got cut up and all that kind of stuff. But if I had never crossed the fence, that would have never happened. And that's what Solomon is saying. Hey, listen, when you walk close to that, whenever you look inside that door, whenever you look inside that window of what is not good, what is not wholesome, what is not righteous in God's eyes, you bring dishonor. You bring dishonor. You fall into that temptation. It's so easy to get entrapped and ensnared in that, and then all of a sudden, you look like a stranger. Okay, so let me ask you this question though: How does Jesus define adultery? Okay, how does Jesus define adultery? Now, I'm gonna turn to a passage of scripture on this to give you Jesus's definition of adultery. So this is what Solomon's kind of talking about, addressing here with his sons so that they'll listen, but kind of for everybody as well. So Matthew 5, 27 through 30 reads like this. He says, "You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery." This is Jesus speaking. "But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better for you to lose one of your members than your whole body going to hell." Okay, so here we have Jesus saying, here's what adultery is. Here's what it is. Here's what Solomon was saying, stay away from, steer clear of. Don't go near that door. Don't walk down that place. Don't stand right next to sin. Jesus is saying, hey, you've heard it said that if you walk through that door, if you do this, if you partake in this, then that is adultery. I'm telling you, if you just look inside, if you just look inside and wonder, if you just look inside and say, hey, I want that person, if I want to do this, then the sin is already in your heart. Then the adultery is already committed. The sin is already in your heart. Jesus is saying, don't do that. If your eye is causing you to sin, cut it out. What Solomon is saying is, don't walk down that road. Don't go near that door. Okay. And Solomon's basically saying, how does Solomon challenge us to respond when we face a temptation? We talked about that. It was said, he's challenging us. He's telling us, hey, go the other way. Don't do that. Don't walk down there. Don't walk down that road. Don't look through that door. Keep far from her and do not go near the door of her house. And this goes with all sin, guys. This goes with everything that we struggle with as human beings. I liken it like this. If there's something that causes you to stumble, really start to question why am I putting this in my life? Why do I have this? Why do I keep nourishing this thing in my life? Do I really need it, or is it something that I just want in my flesh? Okay, so let's continue reading 15 through 18. We're going to skip down to 15 through 18, kind of finish this out. Okay, so drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Okay, now you might be thinking, well, just bring a water bottle from my own house. Yes. Okay. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Okay. So basically what Solomon is saying is, you wouldn't go out and just drink any water that you found. You wouldn't just go out and drink any water that you saw in the streets and laying that. No, you're going to go to your own house. You're going to go to your pantry, get a bottle of water. You're going to go to your kitchen sink, run the tap. You're going to go to your refrigerator, get a glass of water. Like, you're not just going to go and scoop water up in a water bottle out of the street and go, oh, that's good enough. It's rainwater, right? No, you wouldn't do that. Okay, so that's what that's the picture he's drawing right here for us. So drinking water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth, a lovely, dear, graceful doe. Let her. And so here's the thing. Here's what we have here. We have Solomon giving us instructions to, hey, the person who the Lord gave you, that's who you're to be with. The person that the Lord has put before you, that's who you're to be with. Listen, the wholesomeness that God shows us through his word is what we are to adhere to, is what we're to draw close to. Okay? Now, let's look at this. Let's see my questions. What do these verses tell us about God's design for marriage, though? What does it tell us about God's design for marriage? It says what? And then why is it important to consider even if marriage is a long way off? Why do we consider these things even if marriage is a long way off? So Solomon's saying, hey, drink from your cistern. Don't go get water from just anywhere. Pretty good picture for us. Because what would you guys think if, like, today, this afternoon, it rains, and I'm just outside, Jack's watching me, and I'm just outside filling up my water bottle with runoff from the street? Justin, what are you doing? That's not smart. Chemicals, it comes off the asphalt. That's dirty. You got dirt, sand, all kinds of stuff in it. Probably got the COVID in it, all that kind of stuff. Like, why would you scoop up water and drink it from there when you have water bottles in your pantry? You got sink that's filtered. You got a refrigerator that's filtered. All that kind of stuff. Why would you do that? What Solomon's saying is what God is telling us is, listen, I gave you a person. Why would you go and scoop up everything else? Why would you want to go and scoop up dirtiness with everybody else whenever I gave you? I already ordained what you have. That's what he's telling us. And here's why it's important to consider. Here's why it's important to consider, marriage even long term is that's a special relationship that God has ordained for you. That's a special relationship that God has given you with someone else. And that shouldn't be hindered by anything else. Shouldn't be hindered by anyone else. And so you should dive into that relationship knowing that the Lord ordained that. All right, so let's end it with this. We've got one more question for you. Why is it important? Why is it important? I want y'all to answer this question in the comments. Why is it important to think about what healthy, Christ-like marriage looks like, even if marriage is a long way off? Even if marriage is a long way off, why is it important for us to talk about what healthy, Christ-like marriage looks like, even if it's a long way off? And let's just not even say, let's add to marriage, relationships in general. Why is it important for us to have healthy, Christ-like relationships in our lives? Why is that important for us? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes in the comments. Sound off. Why is it important for us to have healthy, Christ-like relationships? And why is it important for us to talk about healthy, Christ-like marriage, even though that might be a long way off? Why is it important for us to talk about those things? Why do you think? I'm going to take a sip of coffee. I hear your keyboard's typing. I hear you typing. It's good. Elizabeth says, so you know what to look for when looking for a relationship and friendship. That's good. That's good. So you know what to look for. Okay, so you know that, hey, I'm not supposed to be looking for these things. I'm supposed to be looking for these things. This is what God has in store for me, has planned out for me. Okay, so I liken it to this. You go to a steakhouse, go to a nice fancy steakhouse for steak, right? If a nice fancy steakhouse has a buffet and you can just pick all these other kinds, then it's not a nice fancy steakhouse anymore. Okay, you go. God has already planned out and ordained that steakhouse for you, so there's no need to go to the buffet. There's no need to go sample everything out. God has already planned out your steps. God has already planned out a person for you. Okay, and so that's where you're supposed to spend your time. I put this on Instagram late last night. Sexual immorality harms us and others. Walking in wisdom means submitting to God's design. We see here in Proverbs that God has a plan and a design for us and our relationships. And so in that plan for us, in that design, in our relationships, we are to honor him and bring him honor and glory through that relationship. And so knowing what we know, we rely and trust on the Lord for who that is and what that will look like. Father, we thank you for today. We're thankful for your word that you give us. Lord, I pray that we would take these words and just really let them soak into us, knowing what we are not supposed to look for, knowing what we are supposed to avoid and keep far away from, knowing that we should drink from our own cistern and not the flowing water throughout the streets. Lord, I pray that we would let this sink into our hearts. We would apply this word to our lives, and we would look at your design for marriage and relationships and say, this is healthy, this is righteous, this is going to bring me closer to God. Therefore, this is what I will draw near to, not this is what I want right now. And so let me just grab at that. Father, I pray that we would guard our hearts, guard our minds, guard our eyes and our ears to things that are pleasing to you, and keep out things that are unpleasing and unrighteous and not holy. Father, I pray that we would not walk to the line of sin and peek over, but Lord, I pray that we would run far from it and avoid it at all costs. Father, I pray for today as we gather to worship. I pray that we would lift your name up and that you would be exalted above every other name today. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. So that wraps up this week. Like I said, next week will be pre-recorded. This coming Wednesday, I'll have a little devotional out, but we will not meet in person this Wednesday night. And so, knowing all that, I am looking forward to eventually one day, maybe in the next few weeks, being together to in some capacity here here for life groups. And so, looking forward to that. I know tentatively right now, I say tentatively, we've kind of penciled it in with strong pencil that August 2nd, we will get back to life groups. We hope that we will be in phase 3 then, maybe, we'll see. So hopefully August 2nd, we will be able to, that is also promotion Sunday. So we promote and be in life groups all at the same time. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to the day when we get together. It's been good with y'all. Have a good rest of the July 4th weekend. And if you did take videos of fireworks that you're never going to watch again, I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you, I'm just telling you your future. Like, you'll probably never watch them again. And you posted them and nobody can see them because it's just really hard to video fireworks. All right. See you guys later. Oh, by the way, go look at the city of San Diego lit all their fireworks off at one time. It was awesome. Go look at that on YouTube. All right. See you guys later.